The power of authenticity and empathy, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow dreamers, in a world that often feels driven by success, status, and the relentless pursuit of perfection, there is one undeniable truth: true power lies in authenticity and empathy. The journey to personal growth, fulfillment, and connection is shaped not by our titles or accomplishments, but by our ability to show up as our most genuine selves and to truly see and understand the experiences of others. We live in an age where we can easily become disconnected from the stories that surround us, distracted by the noise of social media and the pressure to present a curated image of our lives. But the most meaningful connections we form are not with the most polished versions of ourselves, but with the real, unfiltered parts that we often hide. The most powerful stories are those that are shared from the heart. These are the stories that inspire us, that remind us of our shared humanity, and that urge us to be better versions of ourselves. When we embrace vulnerability, we invite others to do the same. And in doing so, we create a ripple effect of change that begins with a single conversation, a single act of kindness, or a single gesture of understanding. It's through empathy that we begin to break down the barriers that divide us. When we stop to listen, really listen, to the people around us, we start to see the world through their eyes. We no longer view them as others, but as fellow travelers on this journey of life. Empathy creates bridges where there were once walls, and it teaches us that, no matter our differences, we are all connected by our shared experiences and emotions. Authenticity is a word that many of us have heard often, especially in today's culture of self-help books, motivational speakers, and social media influencers. It's a concept that's deeply intertwined with personal fulfillment, success, and happiness. But what does authenticity truly mean? And more importantly, why is it so important to our lives and society? At its core, authenticity refers to the idea of being true to oneself. It means living in accordance with one's values, desires, and beliefs without trying to mold oneself into someone else's expectations or ideals. An authentic person is someone who acts, speaks, and makes decisions based on their true self, rather than what others want them to be or what the world tells them is right or successful. Yet, in our increasingly complex world, where external pressures to conform can be overwhelming, being authentic is often far from simple. From childhood, we are exposed to various influences, from our families, schools, peers, and the media, that shape our perception of who we should be. The expectations surrounding us can lead to a disconnect between who we are and who we portray ourselves to be. Social media, in particular, has amplified this dissonance by encouraging a culture of curation, where only the most polished and idealized versions of ourselves are put on display. But at its heart, authenticity challenges this polished image and asks for something more profound: a deep connection to our truest selves. The struggle for authenticity, living authentically, is not easy. It requires courage. It means allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, to show our imperfections, our mistakes, our weaknesses. In a world that constantly rewards perfection, the fear of being judged or rejected can be overwhelming. We might wonder, what will people think of me if they see the real me? Will they still like me? Will I still fit in? Many of us, therefore, fall into the trap of wearing masks to navigate the world. These. Certainly. Here's an expansion of the third point, which focuses on active listening and its importance, elaborated into approximately 600 words. Active listening is more than just hearing words, it is a deliberate, intentional practice that requires full engagement in the conversation. In our daily interactions, we often listen with the intent to respond rather than to truly understand. This habit can cause us to miss important details, emotional cues, and the deeper meanings behind what someone is saying. Active listening, however, demands that we set aside our own thoughts, judgments, and distractions to focus fully on the speaker, allowing them to express themselves without interruption. One of the core aspects of active listening is presence. It requires us to be fully present in the moment, which can be difficult in today's world of constant distractions. With the prevalence of smartphones, social media, and multitasking, our attention is often divided, making it harder to truly engage with others. However, when we practice active listening, we set aside our own distractions and make the other person the center of our focus. This presence conveys to the speaker that their words, thoughts, and emotions matter, and it fosters a sense of respect and validation. Active listening involves not only paying attention to what is being said, but also how it is being said. Tone of voice, body language, and facial expressions all convey important information that words alone cannot capture. Often, the true message lies in these subtle cues. By observing nonverbal communication, we gain a fuller understanding of the speaker's feelings and intentions, allowing us to respond with greater empathy and insight. This attentiveness helps build a deeper emotional connection and strengthens the trust between both parties. Another key component of active listening is asking thoughtful questions. Rather than jumping in with our own opinions or advice, we create space for. Vulnerability is a term that often evokes an expansion of the fifth hesitation, focusing on authenticity and its importance in fostering genuine as a weakness or a state to avoid, especially in a world that places a premium on strength, self-sufficiency, and emotional control. Yet, vulnerability is one of the most powerful and transformative qualities we can embrace. It is not a flaw to be hidden, but rather a gateway to deeper connections, personal growth, and authentic living. At its core, vulnerability involves the willingness to expose our true selves, including our uncertainties, fears, and imperfections, in a world that often pressures us to present an image of perfection. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we make the conscious decision to face emotional risks, to engage with life fully without the protective barriers we typically put in place to shield ourselves from potential hurt. This openness, however, does not mean being weak or helpless. Instead, it demonstrates immense courage and strength, as it requires us to face the unknown, unmask our insecurities, and open our hearts to both joy and sorrow. The concept of vulnerability is not new. Across history, poets, philosophers, and psychologists have highlighted its importance in the human experience. Yet, in modern society, we often find ourselves at odds with vulnerability, pushing it aside in favor of emotional armor and external displays of strength. The truth is that we are often taught from an early age to protect ourselves, to hold our feelings in check, and to be strong in the face of adversity. But these protective mechanisms, while perhaps helpful in specific contexts, can limit our ability to experience life to its fullest. By avoiding vulnerability, we may miss out on deeper, more authentic connections with others, and we may prevent ourselves from growing in meaningful ways. The fear of vulnerability. Our fear of vulnerability is deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. For early humans, survival often depended on the certainly. Here's an expansion of the fifth point, focusing on authenticity and its importance in fostering genuine relationships and personal fulfillment. Authenticity is the practice of being true to oneself, of expressing thoughts, feelings, and beliefs in a way that reflects one's genuine identity. In a world where societal expectations and external pressures often shape how we present ourselves, authenticity can sometimes feel like a rare and courageous act. It requires not only an understanding of who we are at our core but also the confidence to express the truth openly, regardless of judgment or approval from others. The value of authenticity lies in its ability to create deeper, more meaningful connections with others, while also fostering a sense of inner peace and fulfillment. Living authentically is an act of courage. In a society that constantly pushes us to conform, to fit into predefined molds, being authentic can be challenging. There is often a temptation to present a version of ourselves that we believe will be accepted or admired. Social media, in particular, has created an environment where curated versions of life are often celebrated, and the pressure to portray a perfect image can be overwhelming. However, when we live inauthentically, when we wear a mask or hide our true selves, we risk disconnecting from our own desires, values, and emotional truth. This disconnection can lead to feelings of emptiness, anxiety, and a lack of fulfillment. Authenticity means embracing both our strengths and our weaknesses, accepting ourselves fully for who we are, flaws and all. This self-acceptance is a powerful catalyst for personal growth. When we are authentic, we acknowledge our vulnerabilities, imperfections, and limitations. Rather than hiding these parts of ourselves in shame or fear, we embrace them as essential aspects of who we are. In doing so, we create space for personal development and change. Authenticity allows us to explore who we certainly. Here's an expansion of the fourth point, focusing on empathy and its importance in understanding others and building meaningful connections. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It is a powerful emotional skill that allows individuals to step outside of their own perspective and see the world through someone else's eyes. Empathy isn't just about recognizing what someone is going through, it's about connecting with them on a human level and sharing in their emotional experience. The value of empathy cannot be overstated, as it forms the foundation of meaningful relationships, both personal and professional. By practicing empathy, We open ourselves up to deeper connections with others, leading to a more compassionate and supportive society. At its core, empathy involves both cognitive and emotional elements. The cognitive aspect refers to the ability to understand another person's thoughts, perspectives, and situation. It means recognizing and interpreting the emotions and motivations behind someone's actions. Emotional empathy, on the other hand, is the ability to feel what another person is feeling, allowing us to experience their joy, sadness, or pain as if it were our own. While cognitive empathy helps us understand someone's perspective, emotional empathy creates a deeper, visceral connection that fosters compassion and care. Empathy enables us to respond to others in ways that are both supportive and appropriate to their emotional state. When we are empathetic, we are more likely to offer help when it is needed, comfort when someone is hurting, and encouragement when someone is struggling. This responsiveness is not based on a rational calculation, but rather on an emotional understanding that compels us to act in the best interest of the other person. In relationships, empathy fosters trust and strengthens bonds, as people feel safe and understood when they know that their emotions and experiences. Certainly. Here's an expansion of the sixth point, focusing on resilience and its importance in overcoming challenges, adapting to change, and maintaining well-being in difficult times. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, trauma, or significant setbacks. It's the quality that allows individuals to endure difficult circumstances and emerge from them stronger, wiser, and more capable. Resilience is not about avoiding hardships but about navigating through them with strength and determination. It involves a mindset that embraces challenges as opportunities for growth, viewing difficulties not as insurmountable barriers but as temporary obstacles that can be overcome. Resilience is built over time through experiences of hardship, but it also involves actively cultivating mental, emotional, and physical strategies to cope with stress and recover from setbacks. One of the key components of resilience is having a positive mindset. People who are resilient tend to focus on what they can control rather than on the things that are beyond their influence. In the face of adversity, resilient individuals maintain hope and optimism, even when the situation seems dire. They understand that challenges are often temporary and that they have the ability to overcome them with effort, perseverance, and support. This optimism does not mean ignoring the reality of a difficult situation but rather focusing on potential solutions and the steps needed to move forward. Having a positive mindset helps individuals stay motivated, even when progress is slow, and enables them to persevere when faced with challenges. Resilient individuals also tend to have a strong sense of purpose or meaning in their lives. This sense of purpose gives them a reason to keep going when times are tough, providing a source of strength that transcends the immediate difficulties. Whether it's a personal goal, a family responsibility, or a commitment to a cause, having something to work